Cuff Radio, live and direct. I am your host, King Eric, the Media Assassin, and this show is sponsored by Buddy Boy Entertainment, Fleetwood and the Cotton Pickers, Jesse Boutique, Core Financial, Da Vinci Clothing. Got my host T-Max and the Facts in the building. What's good, my brother?
What it do, y'all? This is OTC on another Friday night, doing it fresh to death. Shout out to our co-host, all the fan man, Lady Chinchilla. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we got one of the most solid ever representing Fudgetown. Yes, he stands 10 toes down. Shout out to Ray Shauna Washington, Crip Royalty. Throw it up for the Carib. Basically putting this together for us. This is for the 10-5 line. This is for Deuces, Trays. We doing it for What's Up, East Side, West Side. We doing it for Atlantic, ECC. We doing it for Atlantic Drive. We doing it for all the blues out there keeping it true. This man right here is not only just an MC in every sense of the word of excellent poetry on the microphone. This man is a philosopher. This man is a walking repository of all things history of L.A. in terms of the streets. And we are honored and we are privileged to have his intellect, to have his friendship, to have his wisdom on Off the Cuff tonight. And big shout to June Dog, too, representing 109 in Figueroa. You know, he's a frequent collaborator of his as well. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Broncoe, what it do, man?
What it do, cuz? What it do? How y'all feeling?
Man? How you? We good.
I'm all right. I can't complain, man. I'm living. Allah bless me to have another day, so I'm here.
Absolutely, man.
Appreciate y'all having me, man. Appreciate y'all, having me as a guest on your show.
Definitely. We're humble. We're happy to have you on, man. It's an honor. Once again, shout out to Ray Shauna Washington for helping us put this together. We see you, Boo, all the way out there. Definitely.
Long live Snoopy Blue.
Yes, and we can't forget Snoopy Blue, man. Representing 97 Block ECC, Snoop. We miss you, man. We miss you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I mean, look.
So what's going on? What's going on? What's going on with this fly show y'all got going on that I heard so much about?
Man, look. One thing about the show is what keeps it fly is individuals, like yourself, that gives us our wings in terms of soaring high, in terms of all things academic, authentic, and action-packed on the airwaves, doing what we do.
Absolutely. I can dig it.
You got a story. Yeah, I mean, like Biggie said, you got a story to tell, and what King got playing in the background. Shout out 213 Long Beach, keeping it gangster for show. The floor is yours, man. I mean, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell the audience about what you do with it.
Well, I mean, it's there. I mean, to say it again would only be, giving you information that you already know. I'd rather give you information that you don't know. So you can hit me with the questions of, how's it been, how's it going, what's going on, and all of that type of stuff, and I can answer and, pretty much fill in the blanks for you as far as bringing you up to speed and being current with what's going on with me.
Definitely, man. I definitely shoot that off with you, man, because we in the third quarter right now. We going into the fall season. You can feel it in the energy in the air. Tell us what you got going on for the fall season going on.
Well, I got a lot of features going on. I'm blessed to just still be able to, run laps and outrun, or keep up my win with the best of the best, or who they call the best of the best. It still remains to be seen, because I come from a floor of MCs that, they come before this era right here. So I respect the peer group that I come from. Not that I don't respect the peer group that came after, but you have to earn my respect the same as anything else. So with that being said, it's kind of like survival of the fittest when it comes to MCing and stuff like that, because truly I'm a hip-hop head, even though I grew up in California, born and raised, in L.A. There's a culture current there, too. There's a temperature there for culture as far as hip-hop goes, too. And, we dominant in certain instances. regardless of the overtones, or whether it's a red overtone or blue overtone, because we come from a bandana culture, you know, they fail to realize that there's still some intellect there. There's still some margin of, you know, bringing our faculties together and focusing on, you know, key points and things like that, whether they political, whether they heartfelt. And most of the things that we talk about are, in my opinion, our hieroglyphics. Because what other way do we tell our story for the time that we spend on the planet other than through hip-hop? Because we don't have no pyramids that we can etch these things into. And if hip-hop and audio is our canvas, then what better way to put these things, you know, to a proper purpose than to share them with the other generations that don't get a chance to meet us face-to-face in the flesh?
Absolutely.
And on top of that, man, what's dope about the West Coast is that, see, people from the outside in will look at y'all as, you know, oh, it's nothing about just gangster rap and gangs, but you really step out into the turf, man, there's more hip-hop than people believe. Like, you get a lot of science, you get a lot of street culture, you get a lot of battle culture. You got a real strong hip-hop related culture out there, just like the East Coast.
Absolutely. It has its own, you know, every dish that a chef cook up, you know, it got its own recipe. It got its own seasonings and all it. You know, it's got its own cook time, its own temperature and all of that. So if you're on the West Coast, we famous for, you know, certain dishes, certain cuisine. So if we can relate or, you know, use the term metaphor and use food, well, we create a different kind of food here that's just as delicious and just as delectable as it is if we was in New York and y'all creating y'all hip-hop, you know, food, so to speak, food for thought, food for the ear, you know, through your chefs, you know, be it Nas or Method Man or Jada Kiss or whoever you pick, if it's Big L, if it's Jam Master Jay, you know, if it's, you know, those some of those guys that are from New York are our heroes as well in hip-hop. It's not just LA dudes and MCs that we respect. We respect the whole scope of hip-hop, because without the whole scope, we're nothing without each other.
Absolutely. And that's how the coast combine in terms of creating classics, in terms of culinary entrees for the ears to consume. You know, as you said, Bronco, about how, you know, you bring about, you know, as you would tag your set on the walls out there, you know, you're letting your lyrics lace the LP on the beats in terms of giving everybody, you know, the gang stories and the street, you know, the street tales. What was your introduction, Bronco, in terms of what made you fall in love with the game, and when you decided to take this seriously, and some of your first appearances once you got on doing this seriously?
As far as hip hop, or as far as the culture, and growing up in California under the bandanas and stuff?
Well, we could start with the music and then get into, of course, bandana, of course, you representing, you know, Fudge Town. But please, you know, let's start from the music side first, and then we talk about, you know, the street side of it as well.
Well, with hip-hop, I think the first song that I heard that really had me focused and had me in tune and had my ears like Dr. Spock ears was the Sugar Hill Gang. My uncle brought an album home, and it was an all-white 12-inch, and he played it on the record player at the house. It wasn't that I heard it through the radio. I heard it at the house through the speakers on the component set, on the old component set. It was Rapper's Delight and the Sugar Hill Gang, and then it was other MCs, underground MCs with their tapes and, you know, stuff like that I was coming in contact with. But I was always, you know, focused on, you know, Bill Cosby's characters, you know, with the black character, cartoon characters that resemble me and stuff like that. So all of these things was the seasonings of when I was growing up that had us, you know, into it. Where I grew up at in the ghetto, and why we didn't, during a cowboy, old Western movie, we didn't root for the motherfucking the cowboys. We rooted for the fucking Indians, because the Indians most represented and resembled us in the ghetto. So with that being said, it was more of a, you know, we root for the bad guy, but the bad guy ain't really the bad guy. Not where we sitting at. Robin Hood ain't really the bad guy. If the bank robber comes to the hood and he throwing money out the fucking car that he having a high-speed chase in and shit, is he really the bad guy? He came to it, but he spread hope in a place where there's hopelessness at. If he encouraged the youth and stuff to be more than the older kids that are growing up right in the age bracket before them, is he really the bad guy? If what he did when he was a teenager in his early 20s and stuff like that, if by the time he gets 40 years old or 45 years old, the city and the system that he lives in and the social setting deems those things lawful instead of unlawful, then he really don't have no record, do he?
Absolutely.
But he still got all of the insults that a guy that sold crack or a guy that sold heroin or a guy that sold anything that was even close to what the current thing is called fentanyl now. A person that sold weed got the same insults. He got the same police calls called on him as if he was selling a drug that would kill everybody in the room.
Yeah.
So we got these different circumstances, these overlapping issues and these different circumstances, but being introduced to hip-hop, it was that. Like, I come from watching Rerun and stuff like that with his locking and Shabba-Doo and Boogaloo Shrimp and all of that stuff like that. I was, flipping off the pissy mattress off the bandos with the rest of the homies in the dirt fields and stuff during the summer when we not in the same public swimming pool and stuff like that, flipping off the diving boards and stuff like that. So when it came to breakdancing and hip-hop and watching that and seeing that and all of that, this was the natural evolution of a kid that was growing up at that time. To be interested in the culture that your people create and to find out what your niche is and what you do that's equivalent to, worthy of praise, things that are worthy of praise, things that make people clap and things that make people proud. Proud to be, your friend can't do it, but you can, so he proud that he know you, that he buddies with you. They get bragging rights with that. It's all of those things that make a ghetto kid who he is, if he lived long enough to become the adult that he's supposed to be. Some of my friends didn't live long enough to become this age right here, to develop and grow into the adults that the rest of us are getting a chance to grow and develop into. Some of them died before they even met their firstborn.
And you know what, man? And it's good. And it's dope that you brought that part of the culture up, man, because that's often overlooked by many platforms because people really didn't catch on to hip-hop until it really started booming in the 90s. And you can also see why a lot of heads, they feel a sort of way about, the comments that academics said about hip-hop, the pioneers being dusty. But at the same time, without their history, there's no us.
Absolutely. Without a Raymond Washington or Tookie Williams and the other guys that came from the culture, people who didn't live in the culture, grow up in the culture, are saturated and bathed in the culture every day of their life, every minute of their life, they really don't have the genuine scope to understand and wrap their mind around those of us that did, until you either are introduced to one and actually sit down and understand that this ain't no zombie, this ain't no clone, this is a real living human being, a free-thinking individual who have made certain decisions and choices the same as anybody else and have to reap from the benefits, or you reap what you sow. Whatever the consequences and the karma is, that's what it is based on the choices that each individual makes. You can't blame your grandfather for some shit you do today.
Absolutely not. It's all about the fact in terms of, the great fashion writer, designer that passed, Andre Leon Talley. He always had a saying that said history matters. And it's important because, and also rest in peace to Alfredo Shabba-Doo Quinones, of course, as you referenced, from Breaking fame. And shout out to Ice-T, for being in both of those movies, 1 and 2, because this was the introduction for a lot of us on the East Coast in terms of watching that with y'all to see how deep your connection to it was from dance as well as rhyming. I think with LA culture, it was always different because you all had a story that on the East Coast we didn't really understand in full. Everybody from where they come from has a different experience. Their existence is different from when they touch down on this earth to how they observe, how they understand, how they react, and ultimately how that influences their life coming up. As you said, Bronco, a lot of people got caught up in the street who at a young age fell victim to something where they were not able to have that growth to mature, to become the adult, to fully comprehend what their purpose in life was.
Absolutely.
When you got into the rhyming part of it, tell us about the first rhyme that you wrote in terms of how you pretty much were like, okay, I'm going to do this. And what was it like in terms of you really being able to express yourself? What was that catharsis for you? What was that epiphany of creation for you, understanding once you put the words on paper down, how powerful your voice could be, as you said, echoing the sentiments of the hood, to the world?
Well, it kind of, to be, 19, 20 years old, 21 years old, and to understand, well, to not really understand that's actually a platform, the same way that the president has a platform that he speaks from when he talks to the other nations or when he speaks to us, from that platform, from that little wooden place with that microphone right there. Well, that podium right there, that first base, that mound, is a place where people give you their attention, and it's up to you to say something of purpose and something that can be substantiated with proof. If it's something that the crowd that you're speaking to considers a far-fetched, fictional thing, then you have to present proof and fact in order to sustain, your claim. Well, with me, it was more or less, I understood the importance of that podium and that platform later. So in the beginning, it wasn't me playing around like kids do when their parents leave and you get to jump and flip in the bed and pretend you're a gymnast or anything. It wasn't that. It was me realizing the more I came across the mic and, the other people who used this tool to express themselves in such a way, well, damn, these people that have been doing it 2, 3 years, 4, 5, 10 years before me, I started to look at everybody and how serious they took this thing called the craft. And it's kind of like when you get your first art class and you judge your artwork before anybody sees it. So you'll either scribble over it, notch it out, or ball the paper up and throw it over in the corner because you're not satisfied with it in order to put it on display and say, hey, look what I did. But as an artist, you understand that your first sketch isn't always the one that you show everybody. Sometimes you might show them sketch number 13 because it took you to get from sketch number 1 to number 13, which was satisfactory to you in your eyes, and that was worthy of showing everybody else. So including with rhymes and in paintings and anything else, you don't know if the artist, if the one that we see, this Van Gogh or this Renoir or this verse that we hear from, man, we don't know if that's the 13th one or the 14th one. We don't know if it was the first one right off the rip. Like, only the artist knows that. And being an artist, that gives you a sense of direction, a certain sense of where I want everybody else that's going to listen to me for these couple of seconds, where I want to take them with me on this audio ride right here, this listening party right here. Because in music, in my opinion, metaphorically, you listening with your eyes and you watching with your ears. If you can understand that. It's kind of funny for me to say that, but if you weird like I am and you in tune with that type of stuff, then you understand exactly what I said. I don't gotta use a definition for that. If y'all know what I'm talking about, y'all know what I'm talking about.
What's understand?
In our culture, when we tuned into what we got going on and we tuned into our people, when our souls are connected, we listen to things with our eyes and we look at things with our ears. True or not?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because it's
all that's the place where I was. So when I understood that right there, I was like, I got some things I want to say, and especially if these certain, if there's a certain crowd of, I know the crowd of people that I'm talking to my peers, the people who I speak that language. I'm speaking to those people. There's something I need to say to them. There's a certain way that I need to say these things in order for them to get it. And for it not to go over their head and it be just disregarded by the group of people that I'm speaking to. And then, in another sense, it's my duty to say certain things because I speak for other people who can't do this thing, who can't paint with this paintbrush on this audio canvas, who can't do this with words, who would love to and would say it with their chest, but they just they haven't refined the skill or the craft, or they don't have that as an interest of theirs. They love it, but they love it for somebody else. Like, I grew up in California. I'm around the lowriders and all that, but I wouldn't buy a lowrider for myself. I love them motherfuckers for somebody else. But me, I'm more of a Panamera type of cat. You understand what I'm saying? Even though I grew up in the hood and all that, I'm one of them type of crips. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's about
there's a difference. There's different classes of those of us that grew up here. The same as there are different classes and different sections of the bleachers that brothers sit in on the East Coast. You know what I mean? So you got some fly player type niggas that they energy is bitches just love them niggas. They ain't gotta have no money. They some fly niggas with white teeth and nice hairlines and all that shit. Nice grade of hair. They bitches be on them niggas. Well, they bring a certain energy to the hood.
That's true.
For
Right?
real, man. And it's dope.
For every one female that like him, it's 3 or 4 females with her that's looking for him to have a partner or two that looks similar, if not the same. God damn it, it's going down.
Right.
That's just some player shit. Then you got the niggas that got bread. That's another section of the bleachers. You got ugly niggas, you got tall niggas, you got little niggas, you got tiny niggas, you got fat niggas, you got you got yellow niggas, high yellow niggas, you got niggas with freckles and red hair. You got every description of a nigga that there is that got some bread. He's sitting in that section of the bleachers. He can fuck bitches too because he got the bread to do it. If he had no bread, he wouldn't be able to get 2 words out of them bitches though.
That's real. And it's about a diversity.
Then you got the cool ass, the Arthur Fonzarelli type nigga that, you know, it's pretty much however he want to play it today. If he want to fuck with some bitches, he can. If he want to just fuck over some niggas and beat some niggas up and just mash, he can do that. It's whatever you want. You got that class of niggas too. Then you got the cool niggas that don't nobody fuck with because they ain't bothering nobody, but they're getting your motherfucking ass if you playing foul. Play them left if you want to. You got all them same type of niggas from the hood. Every nigga ain't no shooter. Every nigga ain't no rah-rah ass nigga. Every nigga ain't gonna go to jail and do 20 years of life and don't give a fuck.
That's true.
Every nigga ain't gonna rob no bank.
That's true. And
every nigga not gonna do no drive-by shooting and do no graffiti on the wall or none of that shit. Got some fly niggas that feel like that type of shit is beneath them.
Absolutely. When you look about how you got on set with it, because this is a perfect segue, Bronco, about how you got on set, because, you know, we also got to shout out, you know, Robert Sugar Bear Jackson, down to the Crip Walk. We got to shout out, you know, OGs like Barefoot Pookie. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We got to shout out, of course. You know, of course, we got to shout out, of course, our homegirl, you know, representing it, Kenya Ware, you know, doing the documentary Birth of a Crip. You know, the Raymond Washington story. Much love.
Shout out to Kenya. Shout out to Raymond Lee Washington Jr. Shout out to Ray Shonner and the whole Washington family.
Absolutely.
All of the
Mama
DNA
Washington
that comes from it.
Absolutely. Now, you represent Fudgetown Crip. And definitely, you know, 10 toes down, you know, solid in the ground with it. Tell us what it is about what it means to be on set, because we got to have a discussion about it in terms of how a lot of heads this day and this generation get out there claiming something but not necessarily understand what it means to claim, especially with the rise of social media, everybody trying to portray an image.
Absolutely.
The rules have changed. The rules have changed from where you started with it, Bronco, in terms of what it meant to be on, what it meant to represent, and to really, you know, put in that work, being with that action, you know, attacking. Please, the floor is yours.
Well, the difference is, what the big difference is that a lot of what we would call our leaders, because I don't think that in one section of the city, in no part of the sandbox where there's a set, whether it's Blood or Crip, Hispanic gangs, they're governed different. They're different. There's a different structure to how they get down, and I really couldn't speak in terms in depth on that. But as far as this African American shit go, here it's more of a it's different in terms of I admire my older homies and shit like that. It was something, not every last one of them, some of them turned into smokers and shit like that. Like in anybody's neighborhood, they ended up succumbing to the surroundings and stuff like that. And if you don't adapt to overcome, then you will succumb to certain things. So some ended up being alcoholics and having a rough life, and some ended up being successful and maintaining their composure and having a natural life and not getting killed like a kingpin does when somebody wants to assume his position in the ghetto the way that they portray it in a movie or some shit like that. Nothing like that at all. Nobody wants your spot. Right. Who the fuck can sit in your spot? There is no spots like that really exist as far as the ranks if you will, if you would call it that. Your age bracket is what rank you're in. Your graduating class from high school is the rank that you're in. You ain't nobody big homie if you, what the fuck, that big homie OG. That's an insult to a motherfucker who know what the fuck that shit means.
Right.
OG is a better term to get a smile and a nod out of an older nigga than old head. Old head is a motherfucker that you don't really have no respect for. You just recognize that he in the atmosphere with you. That's far as California, LA niggas gonna be on your head about that shit. You can't get away with, hey, that's my old, that ain't your old head. Old head is half an old bass head. Out here, old smoker. Old nigga that's in recovery that got a 25-year chip or some shit. So we address our elders even different down here. My big homies in the older bracket, older age bracket, or older graduating class from high school than me and shit like that. All of them don't get addressed with big homies. Some of them motherfuckers is an insult, and I'm ashamed that they even from the same sandbox I'm from because of the different shit that they did that I watched when they was growing up. And then others got my nod of approval, and I'm proud to be from the same sandbox that they come from. Same as y'all. Everybody didn't impress y'all when y'all was growing up. Some of them motherfuckers was damn, I hate that he even from over here. Fuck. Who raised this motherfucker? Get him out of here.
Like, look, he ain't
that type of shit. Same in other words, my ghetto ain't no different than yours, regardless of the fact that it has a culture that's caused a temperature here that's in the shade of red and blue. My ghetto ain't no different. We got the same kind of shooters and shit, same kind of recipients of the bullet too. Same kind of agony, same kind of defeat, same kind of victories, same kind of losses, same kind of cemetery, same kind of cell block. No motherfucking different.
You're absolutely right with it.
Difference in our culture and their culture is we didn't grow up killing our peers and shit like that when we get mad at them. They can grow up with somebody from elementary school all the way through high school and all that, get in their 20s and shit, kill each other over a bitch or over a misunderstanding or some shit. We ain't do that type of shit.
What do you think?
That wasn't part of how we got down with I got an attitude with you, I'm mad at you about some shit. As far as we gonna go as a fist fight, and the homies ain't even gonna let the fist fight get out of hand where it's gonna turn into some gunplay. They gonna, all right, that's enough, goddammit. These generations, they don't listen. They smokers. We was selling dope and shit talking about that. They talking about smoking dope, drinking dope, consuming dope. So our generation, we grew up under the rappers that was telling the stories about hustling and selling dope. They the rappers that's growing up taking the dope, teaching the next generation that it's okay to be a junkie, my dude, on crib. That ain't what this supposed to be about. Community revolution and progress supposed to mean we supposed to be neighborly. We supposed to be kind to each other, even though we not blood related. I'm supposed to be able to find sanctuary in your neck of the woods if I can't find freedom and peace over here in my neck of the woods because it's too hot, because it's fucked up between me and another race of people, not another black person. That's what it's supposed to be about. Not about if it wasn't never no Crips, it wouldn't have never been no Bloods. Let me say that. We'd have been something, but we wouldn't have been no Bloods and no Crips. Remember, there was a Huey Newton and motherfuckers like that came before all of that.
That's true. Up in North,
so if we fully focus as adults, then we have to understand that this whole literature that everybody have adopted and took into their own situation, everybody been ad-libbing like an actor without no motherfucking screen, without no lines to fucking memorize. So what happened between them generations and what's the profound gap in it is that they locked away all of the motherfuckers that all the young niggas would have listened to. Because if there ain't no consequences, when the teacher's away, the children gonna play in the motherfucking room. They gonna fuck up on the chalkboard and all that shit. They don't get into some fights, some fuckery, or some horseplay gonna go on in the classroom when the teacher ain't there, but ain't no cool-ass TA on deck. Same way in the hood. If you don't got the right older homies around, shit. The youngsters gonna get out of line. They gonna get a little beside theyself and shit. They ain't got nobody to check them, even if it's their presence. Your older brother's presence on the block make you mind your fucking manners and not do no outlandish shit. You don't want to get in trouble with him.
That's true.
All of that shit, that play a part in all of this shit, bro. Both in Crip hood and blood hood, because we all the same.
And we
all black first when we wake up in the morning. This what motherfuckers have forgot. The whole recipe to this shit and knocking it off, to sow the division in the ranks is this. We have to find a way to fall in love with each other all over again, cuz.
That's true.
Period.
That's true.
Dot.
And
don't flush down, my nigga.
And
I only say that
Bronco,
not as an immature older dude, but because would an Irishman say that he's not from Ireland because he's in fucking United States? Would a Japanese man put his motherfucking Japanese flag in his trunk and not display it in his home? And would he say that he's not from Japan because he's not in Japan, motherfucker? Fuck no, he won't.
No.
So why the fuck do I gotta say I ain't, or act like I'm not, or pretend like I'm not, as if I'm ashamed of where I come from when I'm not? I speak for those who can't speak for themselves in the sandbox where I come from. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to be as articulate and as intelligent as I'm supposed to be the right representation of the people that I come from. Not no fucking asshole. That's a whole lot of you know what I'm saying, and the fuck out of here. Can read and write. I know some motherfuckers that can run a Fortune 500 company from the curb. Nip already told y'all, a lot of my brothers don't have no fucking platform to explain it to you, though. And a lot of you corporate motherfuckers don't speak the language we speak.
That's true. And I think that's where when we look at it too, Bronco, in reference to how you said there was a breakdown of structure from the older gangs in terms of a lot of OGs who either died or went to prison and they left it out there in the streets. We look at the music now in terms of all sides. We've had this discussion. You heard some of the leaks we sent you. People we've talked to about the direction of where the music is, and how people are making the decisions about what it's supposed to sound like, how we're supposed to look, you know. And it's like, how can somebody who's not of our culture, who doesn't necessarily grow up the way we grew up to understand it, how can they tell us how we're supposed to look, how we're supposed to sound with the music, you know, what we're supposed to talk about? I'm like, they can't. If they haven't walked that mile in our shoes of maintaining that level of authenticity, they damn sure can't have us run a marathon in terms of telling us and coaching us on this is how you gain longevity. It just doesn't work. And I think we've seen the music suffer for it. You know, and when we see a lot of artists, there's definitely one thing about it, there's always been an intrinsic link with hip-hop and the street, because that's where hip-hop came from, street culture. And we add the gang element to it. And I know this is going to be a touchy subject for a lot of people. Back in the day, we talked with so many people about this. If you were actively banging, you know, if you were rapping back in the day, we kind of had a hint if you were, depending on who the artist was, what they were representing. But it's not like it was just all over, like I got to tell everything I've done. If you understood the lingo, if you understood the references, then you knew that they was real with it. It's like now you have some of these youngins out there, everybody's a gangbanger, everybody's a shooter, everybody's the biggest dope dealer, and they just put stuff out there. You know, and the whole element of it is that y'all do understand the thing about self-incriminating, and then also even worse.
What they don't understand is this, brother. Mm-hmm. They don't understand self-incriminating because they're not telling their actual story. They're telling a story about something that they know about or that they heard about, not their actual really living foot by foot, step by step, second by second, hour by hour of it. They're sharing intimate information about multiple stories from other people's lives and creating a specific kind of, I created this swagger, this is really the real me, when they really have absorbed someone else's swagger. It may be their older cousin or their sister's boyfriend's sister, brother's somebody. It's a cheap mock-up. So when you come in contact with the real thing, somebody like Nip, somebody like Trey D, somebody like Snoop, somebody, you feel me? When you come in contact with the real California kid, Battle Catter, you know, somebody who brought up from the soil, you understand that those who have been telling you these stories that you've been listening to have been giving you a persona, not the real them. Because the regular real you, it ain't no time to be no actor or no Denzel in Training Day and then Denzel in another movie. You the regular you all the time. Whether you at the club, the cookie shop, the laundromat, the gas station, wherever the fuck you at, you the regular you. Even when you in the booth on the mic.
That's
so
true.
This is how you distinguish between the two. You ain't finna have. I don't never have no homies with me. For what? What am I gonna have some homies with me for? Well, I ain't doing no homie shit. I'm trying to do corporate shit. So if you ain't no homie that's trying to do corporate shit too, then me and you, our time gonna have to be what our time is. And then when I get ready to go do corporate shit or business shit, then I'm gonna have to go do corporate and business shit with the people that I do business shit with. I can only do hood shit with you. You got to know how to separate the two. Everybody can't go. Everybody don't speak the language. We got to go to Mexico, and I'm the only one who speaks Spanish, then I got to translate for everybody. But if everybody speak a little Espanol, then we all should be good then.
Yeah, it's about a circle that you're in.
You ain't finna, if you a bank robber and this what you do, you not finna take no nigga that make a locksmith with you to the bank. He make keys and shit. He fix locks. You got this. You're gonna rob. You got it planned out. What the fuck you gonna take the tire guy with you that fix flats and shit? This is not his line of work.
Right.
It's not his area of expertise. He's not skilled in this right here. He's never even tried this shit. So when you got somebody telling on somebody else, it's because the person that's doing the telling was in a situation that he never should have been in the first place. He wasn't fit for that. He was in the wrong jacket that day. He put on the go shoot somebody jacket when he ain't the person that's supposed to be going to shoot nobody. He the motherfucker that's supposed to be on the goddamn bicycle popping willies around the water hydrant. He's not. You understand what I'm saying? So this is how you got these different people playing these awful roles, doing these awful things, displaying our whole everything like it's fucked up when remember, there's some fucking kids that started this shit because of what they was dealing with the police that was policing the areas and the ghettos that was here before I was born. They had to start a buddy system and stuff like that with the people that didn't gravitate towards gangbanging and stuff like that. They had to go out in couples and twos and fours and shit like that because the white kids was racist as a motherfucker here and they was fucking motherfuckers up. The Bowsers and the Richie Cunninghams and the Arthur Fonzarellis and shit like that was really real down here in L.A. in Hollywood and shit like that. They was harassing black kids and shit like that had afros and shit like that, wearing sweaters and shit like that, with a nice girlfriend out in the world with her ponytail and shit like that. If it's just him and her, they gonna fuck with him and shit. But if it's you, your uncle, your brother, your cousin, and everybody got their girls out, no chances of the white kids trying none of that shit with you. This is where all this shit came from, y'all. Not just no dumbass motherfuckers trying some bullshit. This shit came from motherfuckers harassing and embarrassing motherfuckers and assaulting motherfuckers out in the world wrongfully because they was black people, my niggas.
You're right. I mean,
this is where this shit come from, my niggas. This don't just come from us wanting to bully some other kids and they resisted being bullied, so now it's this. Fuck no. It ain't that.
Yeah, I mean, when you had people like, crews like the Spook Hunters that used to target black people.
Right,
those
exactly.
But those
in the late 50s and the early 60s and shit like that, your parents is of that age and shit like that, then your parents know exactly what the fuck you would talk about. If you brought this up at the dinner table, the whole room gonna get quiet because they know what you talking about.
Yeah.
This is why it was Black Panthers stationed in every fucking state. And it was starting to spring up in every state in the wherever there was a state in the United States and it was some Peckerwood, some white folks doing some bullshit, KKK shit. It was some niggas right there standing up on that gangster shit, ready to go to blows, guns and all that. Well, we are the residue of that type of shit here in California.
That's true.
The same level of resistance, I ain't finna turn the other cheek or take that fucking shit from you, white boy. Got me fucked up. Cut your fucking hand off or I'll let you smack me. That kind of shit. That level of resistance. That temperament right there. That which was lost during slavery or suppressed during slavery. That made a black man shave a white man's neck with a straight razor and not cut his fucking throat and do it for fucking 20 years and shit. and never harmed the white guy. That shit, whatever that was lost, what Tookie and Raymond them found that shit for us here in California. I'll say that. Woke up that shit. Otherwise, it would have been a lot of passive, nerdy-ass white motherfuckers pretending to be Brian Gumble with that white-ass voice as a black man. Fuck
and
that shit.
One thing about it's all about protection. That's what people don't understand the history of it in reference to what was going on. I mean, when you look at it, like you said, Bronco, when you're looking at the history as well with the Black Panthers, one thing that was always, and we look at the situation, of course, we can't forget Fred Hampton, Chairman Fred Hampton.
Absolutely.
These were individuals.
I didn't even bring up the big brother Fred Hampton because that's a whole nother 32-hour conversation, bro. Like, we can go into this. All has something to do with the culture and being tribal and all of that type of shit. If you can even put the word tribal on it to be better, suitable for the crowd we talking to wrap their mind around this shit.
Right.
To be able to understand how in-depth we can go with this shit right here.
Yeah.
There's 5 boroughs on the East Coast of New York. From what I was told, from what I understand, and I ain't never been, but from the stories out there, there's 5 boroughs, correct?
Absolutely.
Each borough represents a different kind of person. Even though we all the same people, you got Bed-Stuy, you got Brooklyn, you got Manhattan, you got Staten Island, you got Queens, you got all these different places that everybody got their different flavor, correct?
Absolutely.
When it's time to be a whole, New York, fuck you mean, the Big Apple, no cut, together or nothing, correct?
Absolutely.
California, we don't got that love, bro. We don't got that embrace for each other like that. It's division in the ranks here, bro. And that's what I'm telling you. That's what the rest of the states be watching. They know California niggas be in they motherfucking feelings. I'm a California nigga. They watching us be in our feelings when we be reacting to this type of shit. And that's not good posture for our culture at all. We have to show more restraint. More discipline.
Perfect segue.
More maturity, more growth and development as a people.
Yeah. And perfect segue because when we think about March 9th, 1993, outside, of Biggs passing, there was something monumental that happened that year. Of course, Big passed 97, but there was something monumental that happened that year, and that was the release of the Bloods and Crips Banging on Wax album, which brought, the blue side and the red side together for that record. Like you said,
I had fun like a motherfucker on that project,
Tell us about how you got on it, man. Please. We need that story.
That project, I had fun like a motherfucker on that project. I mean, and everybody that I didn't know already, I didn't know already through just in the streets and in the ghetto and being out in the world, being outside your hood. Outside meaning being outside your hood. When you're in your hood, you safe. You ain't the shit cracking. You know who the fuck the ops is and all that. When you outside your hood is when you're vulnerable. I'll be outside.
Right.
Some motherfuckers don't never leave their hood, so they don't never got nothing to worry about.
Right.
But the norm. So with that being said, that was outside the hood shit. We outside. Everybody ain't gonna leave outside their hood. So it was a lot of people who got the invitation, who got the memo, and respectfully declined for whatever their reason was. I use that as my diving board to let you know I can flip. I watched it. I paid attention and watched what was going on with the projects that came before that to see where that would go for the average individual that was on it. Is this, it was it was an unknown thing. So, and even with all of that, I didn't have no mentors, no uncles, no aunties or nothing that did music or were musicians or singers. So it was all trial and error for us. Every last, person other than those who had, uncles and aunties that could properly advise them on the different decisions and different opportunities that came about. So, hopefully I did pretty good for my first time tap dancing and shit like that. But I liked it a lot. So the more I did it, the better I got at it and shit like that. And I just happened to have the right circle of friends, the right circle of partners that do that type of shit, that fuck with hip-hop for real. And the memo came down the line through the phones and shit like that. It's like, how this nigga get my phone number? Some of that shit came through the phone. And it was an invitation to come to a trial at a studio. And so when I went with like 4, 5 of the homies and shit like that. Big mistake. I take 4, 5 of my homies with me. Everybody else that got the invitation, meaning the MC out of that hood, everybody from Fudgetown don't rap. I'm the motherfucker that rap. So it was my invitation. I just took 4, 5 homies with me on the California culturally be safe, because I know it's going to be some other motherfuckers here. Pretty sure I'm going to run into some opposition here. Yeah, let me take what I need. Let me take my, let me take my quarterback, and let me take my wide receiver, and let me take a couple running backs with me and a couple linebackers with me, because I know what the playing field is like. I shouldn't have did that, because the homies was getting into it with each other, but all of the niggas that was MCs, that was from the different hoods, both Blood and Crip, whatever, gangster, nobody wasn't tripping with each other off. None of that. We was more so, we had something in common that we liked either more than gangbanging or just the same. So that was that night. It was more, hip hop was more important that night for a lot of us. So the next time it was time to meet up, niggas didn't bring their homies with them, because I know my homies was gonna spoil the fun for me. I'm gonna have to do some gangbanging. I can't do no MCing, no rapping or nothing, no get in the cypher and create some shit. I ain't finna be able to do none of that shit with the homies, because they gonna be on some brown rag, Crippin', Mafia, what's happening with it, what it do. They gonna be on where you from. They gonna be on all that. Damn, I can't take y'all nowhere. So, secret joke to myself, like, damn, I can't take the homies nowhere with. No, I can't, not when I'm doing something like that. So, as a young nigga, I understood there's certain motherfuckers that you just can't take. You can take them some places, but you can't take them everywhere.
Yeah.
With that being said, when it was time to get in the cypher and do the shit, and it was the pass the mic shit, like anything else, Donnie struck a match and the match went out. Those who couldn't carry their weight, who didn't have the wordplay and the metaphor, who didn't have the skill to be one of the ones that was picked, didn't, and those that did. I was one of the ones who had the skills with the wordplay that got picked. I did the shit.
Man, little shout out to you. Shout out to A-Love. We had him on last year. Shout out to Sinloke. Shout out to Danny Girl. Bloody Mary, rest in peace.
Shout out to Sinloke. Shout out to Danny Girl, my C-Note, my keyways in the business.
Yeah, man. That was in 1993. For us out here, that was just huge.
Shout out to Compton and Long Beach, East Side, West Side, all that good shit. California, thumbs up.
Hey, I want to ask you this too, man. But did you guys, now without mentioning any names, did you have any popular or more known rappers that wanted to get on to Bang It or Wax, but either the label refused to let them on, or were they just afraid? In your opinion?
My opinion, I would just go back to say this. I would never say that nobody was afraid. I would say that whoever got the memo and respectfully declined had their own specific reasons for not engaging with it. I would say that because, truthfully, those who didn't fuck with it, I didn't have a let me call and see why this nigga ain't fucking with it type shit. I didn't have the notion to do that. It was like, well, whoever own it, own it. Whoever not own it, I'm on it. I ain't tripping. So I don't think it was them being afraid. At least I wouldn't use the word afraid or whatever, just because I know what type of impact words carry. So I wouldn't use the word afraid. But I don't know of any MCs that respectfully declined, that to my knowledge, that didn't get on it because they was afraid or whatever. I think whoever got the memo and, was asked or, got a chance to, if you like to be on it, and they said no, I think whoever said no for whatever their own personal reasons was.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's how I feel about it. Those who did, got on it for whatever their personal reasons was, like, with any of the rest of us, we was, everybody get their own window into, whatever it is that they trying to do. They stumble upon what they trying to do, whatever way that they can. That was those of us that got on that particular project, that was our way of getting into the public eye to show, to put our talents on display, to put our skill set, there. To be heard, to be seen, to be counted as one.
Bronco, this is momentous because we now interviewed two people that were involved with that, of course, you and A-Love. So you and him telling that story of how it came together on one of, to me, the greatest rap albums ever made, just for what it meant bringing both sides of the flag together to create unity, in terms of just, showing it can be done was a movement in itself. You all are part of history, and nobody can take that away from you. And for that,
True.
we have to thank you all for what you gave us as a culture, showing what is possible when cooler heads prevail, and it's all about the composition of the pen rather than the loading of the clip to let it rip. But you all fit it in a whole different way, bringing it to the masses.
Absolutely.
We can't thank you enough for that. We cannot thank y'all enough for that.
I appreciate you just even acknowledging my existence, because out of everybody and anybody, you didn't have to notice me. You could have passed right by me and went over me and went to the next somebody. So just having a split second of your attention to be acknowledged as one of the ones is very humbling in its own self. So I appreciate you more than words could say, bro. Truly I do. There's a lot of MCs out in the world. Some are recognized and some aren't. I appreciate it being one of the ones that are being recognized by you guys. I appreciate it a lot. Much love.
And, of course,